the air and naval units out of doomed situations. Try to save them for future use. Now here I think we're going to go with sort of, you know, the expected. Let's also see about a Paratrooper Corps. That might be of fun use. Now remember, Paratrooper Corps, we've got to get them somewhere and get their readiness up to 100%. You know, as in get them fully supplied. Britain. All right. Well, yeah, what is in Britain's foreground forces? Okay. Basically, a lot of and late stuff moved over after they no longer needed it in the European campaigns. Sounds about right. So let's come back over here and let's go with a small core. Get something coming sooner rather than something better later. You know, do you want something usable today, or you don't know that any of these guys are going to have anywhere near the stockpile? Not expecting it, just clicking to be thorough to build anything. Okay, so we're let's take a quick look here. We'll move these forces back behind here. That's becoming a problem, but we'll move. I'm giving up the city, but I'm moving behind the rivers and hopefully keeping supply open. There, don't want to forget this. Let's leave that there for the moment. Well, am I just imagining that this is too good to be true? I'm still holding up there. They moved down here maybe to attack me. I don't know. Let's just do this to mess with them a bit. I know they'll still get supply coming in through Hanoi, and so it's not like we're cutting off their supply. And Haikou, whatever, through here, so that they're able to do that. But just again to sort of keep them off balance. Okay, so we're holding here. We got some air support in the region, and as another thing that's really good that I like about this, now we really haven't looked at it too much here, is the being able to attach support units to the main corps or armies or divisions here, and that has an engineering unit, which I know from playing WarPlan in Europe helps with river crossings, so it doesn't consider it an important city. All right. Well, I was just not so much that the city was important. I'm just sort of looking at the front here, that it's just sort of isolating units, isolating a pocket here. Yes, they're getting supply via the sea, I'm sure. But it just seemed like something that could do, and try to hold where here we're trying to hold along rivers, mountains, supply. Again, supply issues are key here, because the Japanese are going to have, to some degree, the inverse of some of the supply ease. They try to come through here, especially like through here. They're going to choke on or starve on the lack of supply, I'm guessing. Hello, Oxabaileys. World War. I think you're meaning Strategic Command World at War versus Pacific. Well, this is obviously just the Pacific. Bill and Herbert's game is good. It is global. It is not tailored to model the realities of the Pacific campaign as well as this is, in my opinion. Though I've admittedly, we're now just starting to get into turns beyond what I have played myself. So, where I've played a bunch of WarPlan, Strategic Command World at War. But I think this is modeling it better. Now, what might, just this as an idea, you sort of replicate the garrison nature of the Indian Army. And especially if we were looking at, and I haven't seen anybody play it yet, so I'm not in the beta, 2-player. But what might you do is set up immobile units that just sit around holding India down. So it would make it difficult for a human player, whether so even if you're playing against the AI, have a bunch of immobile units that if you started to push in to India would hold certain strong areas well, and then allow the player to move more mobile stuff. Might be an interesting idea. I don't know. Okay. The AI has not been very aggressive down here for the oil. May not need it just yet, so I don't know. We've got Kuala Lumpur back. There we go. Well, did we build out for the U.S. effectively? Yeah. Okay. Let's give Japan its turn, and we'll take our suffering. Yes, bad karma. And, I try to evaluate when I play various games, including things like, and I'll say it, Axis and Allies, online, the Axis and Allies game, which is a good game. But obviously it is much more simplistic than this, and it's not even anywhere, near this. So I try to evaluate what the game is trying to do and trying to be. This is not trying to be as dense or as developed as War in the Pacific. And so it depends on how much time you want to invest in a game and what you want to do with it. When players get to the game where it needs to be balanced, beta testers can only go so far. Okay, good to know, Alvaro. I'm just talking here as I'm seeing things. Like I said, this is about roughly, or maybe a turn earlier, about as far as I've gotten into, though I played the first few turns. A lot I'm looking here. Okay, so more supplies delivered to China, though only over the hump right now, because I think we've lost enough of the southern part of the Burma convoy or train. Okay, they sunk a merchant marine. The Japanese have sinking 2. Okay, so we're losing some via here. So I've noticed that the supply situation has changed here now that we got Kuala Lumpur back. And yes, we're no longer getting supplies via here, I presume, because we're no longer holding Rangoon to move supplies. You just can't move supplies through this parts of the jungle like that without sort of doing the hump kind of thing. That might be able to hold out there for a while. We'll see. Well, and Oxabale says, well, not impossible. Yeah, well, I mean, you might just do this while you have like in a impassable or whatever, but why have it on the map if it isn't possible? You know, I mean, you could just cut the map, you know, here and just go straight north from here. You don't have to do this if it was to be inaccessible. At least that's my thoughts. But since it's here, it should be accessible, but difficult because yeah, it's not supposed to be something that is, or something that wasn't done, and it mostly wasn't done because the Japanese couldn't do it. Okay, now do we have enough air for or fuel for an air? Well, let me take a quick look here. Australia, we have 2 oil. Again, I think that's a bit low. That's just, again, me, and I'm not, maybe they just didn't have much of a, it doesn't even have enough. Okay, so we can't even do that. That seems a bit much. I agree that Japan or Australia doesn't really have a local oil supply, but did it have so little reserves? I don't know. I just don't know. I'm not criticizing as in that I know. Okay, well, we now have another carrier group over here with some more battleships. So we're going to send them out to Hawaii to join up with this group. So now we have Yorktown, Saratoga, Lexington, Enterprise, and some battleships that are, you know, floating as opposed to battleships that aren't floating, that we can see about some air operations out here once the weather clears up a bit. Usually end up with some compromises that fares poorly both. It's okay for grand strategy where a wargame element is not permitted, but diluted by diplomacy development. Yes, something to look forward. Yeah, I don't know about the oil. You need to send oil. Well, I didn't know that I could be sending oil without the transports. That I didn't know. Let's see. Can I? USA to Australia. Let's do some of this. So let's get that to Australia. Get some oil going there. Trade created. Oh, merchant. Yeah, that's right. Merchant marines are transport. You're right, Alvaro. Yes, I understand. Each turn per trade. Just looks like they have enough, and I just figured we'll send it down there. Get that going. Well, I thought of just dumping them a lot of oil because it looks like they're bringing in a lot. So to Australia, 11 is what I sent out of 48 per turn. At least that's what I understand them producing per turn. Right. Okay, so we're trading down there, sending down some oil to get going. Okay, well, if we can do that, I was, yeah, thinking it was going to wait for these to show up transports, but yeah, that's correct. You can tell, guys, I mostly play as Germany with WarPlan in the European version. Right. Fighting out those. Though I did start, and I haven't finished it yet, an attempt to see if I can hold France as the allies from a German attack. So, okay, well, let's give this a turn here. They've taken into Manila. The Philippines have surrendered. I think it was in March is when Bataan falls. So this isn't too well. It's about a month early, I guess. Not that that's wrong or whatever, because this is not supposed to be playing out exactly as history. But I think it was in March sometime, and May for Corregidor and Fort Drum. But those were just sort of holdout pockets for a long time. Okay, delivering supplies to China. Right. Okay. Indian Ocean whaling groups. Right. So, bit of action out there. Very good. So let's see what we can do here. Okay, they've come around behind us, cutting these guys off. Interesting. They didn't keep pushing here. They came up this way. Let's look at supply here. I think we will sit here for the moment. See what will happen with that. Oh yeah, again, and as Alvaro was saying, the AI and such is still being worked on. So things will change. And of course, as a human, I do different things, and than maybe the AI or the programmer was anticipating. Okay, so what I want to see about doing here is let's create a squadron. Well, right now, mostly by making sure that anything that's too damaged but is selected, we'll leave at home. That's healthy enough. We'll remove that. Okay, let's come down to, say, here. Now we're also going to bring the submarines out. But we're going to bring them out in raider mode. We have a convoy? No, not specifically here. Route, but let's... So I want them to sort of run if something spots them or attacks them. But I want to use them for reconnaissance work, if you will. Now, a couple years ago, I read a bunch of books about the Pacific campaign. And like I was saying earlier, Japan is very much an Alfred Mahan, a Mahanian Navy-inspired naval viewpoint. And they anticipated someday the Japanese Navy at war with the American fleet. They just thought it was inevitable. They liked America a lot of the naval officers, but they just thought national interests were going to clash at some day. And there was going to be a naval war. Not that the Navy hated the Americans or anything like that. Sort of the opposite, I think, rather. But they just thought it was going to happen. And so they pictured the idea in their mind. This is long before, this was even early carriers, but before they thought carriers were going to be the main thing. It was still a battleship focus. Idea was that the American Navy was going to sally forth out of like San Diego or wherever, start moving across the Pacific, and they were going to know this because they're at war, and so they would put out a screen of submarines, along the expected path. And that screen would do two things: one, report on position of the U.S. fleet and try to do some attrition of it. And then it would sort of maybe hit with some lighter, destroyers also start doing similar sort of screening operations. Again, they weren't really in the mindset of, excuse me, relying upon air assets for spotting. And then, so with radio reports coming back of these engagements and probably loss of a few light surface vessels and a few submarines, pinpoint where the American fleet was, and then have the great mother of naval battles. And of course, after the Straits of Tsushima, here, when they sink the Russian fleet, they figure they're going to sink the American fleet similarly. At least that's what. Well, how long is the stream? For 2 hours, we're scheduled, Alvaro. So a little bit more time, we'll get some more stuff in. So that's what they were looking for. And both navies want the big mother of all surface fleet battles. They really don't get that. I mean, it becomes, like Midway and whatnot, where you have air-on-air attacks. So we've lost the Philippines. We're still sort of holding out here and here. The Japanese are holding... We're holding the Japanese there, I should say. Okay, well now let's again take a look, because I think it may have overdone the trade. Okay. The U.S. create... Okay, the U.S. is getting 20 oil. We're putting 11. Yeah, let's... do here, let's find it here. Where am I not seeing the trade? New Zealand, Australia. They're sending in... Did it get canceled somehow? Okay, well, I'm on the wrong one. Okay, so we're going to cancel this trade. We're going to Australia. I had to be on the right one. Okay, so we'll do 4 ongoing. But now we have enough fuel to do some air operations as needed. If we spot submarines or wish to... Well, let's move up to here. And unfortunately, we do not have any transports yet to get our air assets out to here. Okay, well, we have that. Right, let's go over to China. Hello, Toy Jet. How you doing? Or as he likes to be called, Sir Toy Jet. No, they're more beating up on me. The Japanese Navy is. Okay. This looks doomed now, so... How best to juggle all of this? Let's move. There we go. Create sort of a straight defensive line. There, they're holding there. Hopefully they can hold there well enough. You know, we've moved that. That's so far being fairly successful. Yeah, I don't know that I want to change that. Okay, wasn't as good as I was hoping it was going to be. Beating up on their HQs. Nope, shouldn't have done it, but oh well. Just, okay, I think this is good. Let's come back here. Okay, nothing more to deploy this turn. Large stockpiles. Go with that. China. Well, we have a decent stockpile. Let's do that. Really want to try to keep the forces on the front lines upgraded. I'm ignoring the Soviet Union, even if there was anything to do with it. Now, fighter, ground attack, tactical. $390, $225. Let's do an air superiority just to get that going as well. Britain. Let's see, we have Britain coming, yeah, this war in March. We got that. Well, we could do some air. Maybe. Can we afford any air? No, we can't. Do we want to stock up for air? I don't know. That looks good. Maybe we should start sending more points down to Australia, so Australia can. The U.S. should send points, maybe. Down there. Okay. Well, we're gonna see if we can get in here and spot any naval, but we may do some airstrikes on the air units there from our carriers. Should have enough intel points to buy intel for the U.S. Okay. Quite honestly, I don't know. I haven't done that. So, is that a support here? Or, like I say, I've just played the first few opening turns. Sorry, Alvaro. That is new to me. Units, headquarters, game notes, forces. Here, probably. USA. War panel. Okay. USA. Morale guys. Here, create communication points. War panel there, war panel fourth button from the left. Well, if you're talking here, the grayed out ones. Here, maybe I've spent too much. Top row flags. Oh, okay. Still not enough. Okay, I see commit points here. So no, we are not yet as the USA able to do this. Well, I guess for okay. Oh, I see how. Okay, I'm the USA and I'm looking here. Okay, I get that. Now sorry, Alvaro, I have not done this. Okay, break Japan's intelligent codes, commit 60 points. There we go. Okay, so code breaking attempt has been unsuccessful. Okay, cool. I get it. I get it now. Okay, so everyone, so you need to come, this is the nation who's trying to break codes. This then down here would be the nation there, potentially, nation that's trying to break these nations' codes. Okay, I get this now. This does make sense now that I understand it. So, and we can see these points here as we go along to see if anybody would have the potential ability to do this. All right. Okay, so we were unsuccessful. The red radio tower is to create intel recon. So here, okay. All right, very good, very good. So don't quite have that yet. You use the points to break them. All right. Let's give pen. Oh yeah, fog of war I think is important with this. I really do. And as you can see, everyone, he does build a lot of nuances into the game. Any game really worth playing, even, takes a little while. Okay, so they spotted the submarines and did a strike on them. So holding up in the north there. Took out the Batavia garrison. See the units remaining to execute orders as the AI thinks about things. Okay, resources there. USA's oiler added availability to the pool. Good. Dutch East India's Batavia garrison surrendered. Shatters. Looking rather inconclusive. Okay, I-16, it would be the Japanese. 2 groups sinking 3 merchant vessels. Right, okay. There we go. Now, this happened, it flashed fairly quickly. But, okay, so that submarine group is perfectly fine from their attempt at striking it. Okay. Holding there, all right, holding, which is about all China really should be able to do. Okay, well, let's look at supply here. Yeah, okay, he's still in supply, that's good. He's probably choking, or not choking, starving for the lack of supply up here. I'm just going to move there to try to make it a little more supply friendly. Okay, yeah, my ill-considered attack on the HQ was ill-considered. We probably wouldn't have lost that unit. Oh, I'm not sure. Still holding there, which keeps this garrison going. It's just the ship on the bottom of the sea. The bottom of the harbor, I should say. Now, we have something here. Yeah, let's just do this. Naval strike. Okay, we just had our severe losses in the air. So don't do that. Learn from my mistakes. Mostly I just wanted to do something and feel not impotent by being attacked so heavily. Okay, what we're going to do is come down here, put these on rails, and move them up to here. I just figured this is not likely to be invaded down here in Melbourne. More likely up here. Let's get them into the theater. Now, I don't know. I'm guessing we have no major. Ships around here. Okay, so that goes a little faster than I like. So we lost some air, they lost some air, if I read that quickly enough. And that was already damaged. So we're gonna now, after coming through there, we're gonna come here. So we had a naval air action up here. Carrier planes. Okay, it looks like we can see 60%, 60, 60, 61, that kind of thing. All right, very good. If you pull up the combat logs, the 6th button to the right. There. Oh, there we go. Okay. Casualties, forces, reports. That's the standard. 6 from the left, that's 5. That one, okay. Here we go. Naval airstrike. Here, okay, so this was our earlier strike there. Naval air interdiction. Naval airstrike. Earlier one there. Okay, cool. Thank you, Alvaro. And we can see that we did that. Defenders losses, none. Right. Okay, cool. Well, so far we're looking relatively good here in Burma, which is nice. We're looking very good here in Singapore. It's just a matter of time before everything useful goes down, it looks. like in Indonesia, and we're holding here, we're holding here. We can now deploy something more. Okay, the British have the Ramillies. Okay, deploy it. Where can we deploy the British forces? Their deployment box? Am I just missing Diego Garcia now? Lower left of the map. Ah, okay. There we go. I hadn't found that yet. Okay, Pretoria, South Africa. Very good. And who else? The U.S. Bomber Group. Very good as well. Deploy. Fortunately, I do know where the United States is. Right. Okay, so we'll is there a good let's first come over here because I've forgotten about these guys, quite honestly. Let's move them to Darwin so they can get some resupply maybe. But I had forgotten about them. Keeping these guys on radar mode. Using that as a bit of a reconnaissance diversionary force. Or the islands. Well, once you get, well, I don't know when you say the islands. Well, once we get into the ability to have convoys, let me just click on something like this here. Close this. Here, we currently have no ability to embark troops or units, I should say, because it could be aircraft or whatever, to do in naval invasions. Australia doesn't have that either. Once we get into there, then we can definitely get into an island hopping campaign. From the Japanese perspective, well, yeah, you got to get the units to the islands, the garrisons, but then until there's an attack happen, probably not a lot. So there is a bunch to do with China. Now, I would be disappointed without China in the game and just sort of just a naval game, a sort of naval island hopping. But that wouldn't be a bad idea. But like I say, I would be disappointed. I like that there's China here. This is very much as expected. China ability to sort of hold off from defeat. This is more luck that they did not garrison this. And I was able to do that. Looked like for a moment they might leave Canton, but they withdrew back to make sure they held that. That is good. All right. We built a air superiority. Let's do a. Okay, I'm looking here. Anti-sub naval air. Technical, just looking here. I think we'll do a ground attack because that seems to do fairly good against naval air anti-sub. Yeah, I think we'll do that. We'll get one of these purchased, put them in the production queue. It has a strategic planning level and a tactical planning level, so on some fronts they might attack and others defend. Very interesting. Curiosity. Try and take advantage of good situation land ahead. All right, and so Britain, we're rebuilding up our. Well, let's also increase that now that we have a couple of units coming from Britain. China, again, we're focusing mostly on upkeep. Don't care about the Soviet Union at the moment, and these guys, we're not really building anything at the moment. Okay, I don't know more action I need to do here. We've done our little, well, we haven't completed it, but our sort of carrier air group raid through the area, and we're holding here, and we're holding. So let's give the AI its turn. Zoom in a little more so you guys can see it clearly. So the idea of that straight line is to attempt so they can't make too concentrated of an attack on one part of the Chinese line. That's sort of why I was falling back. Yeah, this is simpler. Than war in the Pacific. How much time do you want to devote to each turn? Might be a good question. Dutch East Indies have surrendered. Okay. Delivering some production to China. Prince of Wales was sunk because it was still there. Dutch East Indies surrenders. The convoy. All right. Okay, let's take a look here. So we're still holding out, though we're losing our supply. We're holding there, which is helping, but not getting. Okay, Axis and Allies, one strategic command, war plan, war in the Pacific. Right. 1, 5, 7, 15. Yeah, it sounds about right. And so, yeah, you know, there's nothing wrong with the idea of a game that we're going to see if we can come here and cut these guys off from supply. Takes a long time per turn. In fact, that can be quite good. But is that the game you want to play? And at times for me, that yes. At times, no. See, okay, we're holding here. They can't concentrate too heavily on any one of these. I guess they could move up to there, but we might steal a march on them and get Canton if they do that. Right. Still holding there, still holding there. Okay, that's all good. Hello, British Exile. Yes, it can be a very daunting game. I've not played War in the Pacific. I played War in the East, and it's a very enjoyable game. But it's a deep game, takes a lot of time per turn. I've watched some War in the Pacific, and it does look very interesting. We're starting to run out of supplies, so I'm going to head down to Brisbane. With that, Well, I know my submarines are almost useless in the attack because of my bad torpedoes, so I'm not even going to bother whatever that might be, even if it's just uh, transports. I think we're going to move out down to here. Now, we did get these guys back to here. They are also in raider mode. We're going to send them back up to here to try to deal with some supply, give them some supply issues. What can we deploy here? US? No. No units to deploy. Ooh. Ah, there we are. Okay. So, India, we have a division ready. Let's come over to India. Put it there. All right, we have another a division. We've cut their supply, at least temporarily. They can probably march back out if they're going to be smart about it. I get that they may think they're trying to move up and around here. I don't know, but you can see if you can delay a few turns here, keeps forces from overwhelming some other areas. We still don't have transports, I don't believe, for, yeah, nothing for the US. To get these forces out, let's look at building. USA. And also build up air forces as well as ground. I think another one of these would be nice. I like to use land-based air power off of islands to control areas. Not sure how well it's going to work with this game, but I want to be able to do it. Okay, so we've moved the Pacific Fleet out of position from defending the West Coast, defending Hawaii. We're going to head back there with it, but that was more just to, mess with the Japanese. Okay. How are we doing for Australia's upkeep? 3. Let's do that. We don't have a lot of forces, but we want to try to keep them up there. Keep them well upgraded. All right. You can see I'm not doing a lot of operations here for China. I'm mostly just checking to see if I keep things stable, as it were. Look for opportunities like when I was able to grab up that and just throw a monkey wrench into controlling things. I'm trying to do some fleet maneuvers. And so far, I'm rather pleased with the AI, the way Japan is doing it. The overextension in Burma, okay. At least I'm thinking it's an overextension. We'll see how that goes. And there I'm referring here, okay, went up to Michnya. Well, it looks like an overextension to me. But that's not too bad of a situation. Okay, they were really trying to push into Singapore. Trying to push there on him. We'll see what we can do. Very interesting, Alvaro. Yes, and thanks for following. Do appreciate it here. Sources to China, Pike SS. Again, they're spotting, but because of their bad torpedoes, excuse me, no damage to Japanese convoys, even though they're trying U.S. low oil stockpile. Maybe I'm sending too much to Australia. We may look at that. Here, okay, well, for a moment, we're going to come down there and let them have Michna for a little while. Right, okay. We're going to just keep on the defensive here. We're going to let these guys continue supplying. We are, yes, on raider mode. Let's come here for the port parcel as well. The Ramoli battle squadron. Well, let's try to avoid getting it sunk, but let's move it up here to reinforce some of these other units, maybe create a decent British fleet in the Indian Ocean with that. Okay, here. We have been doing a decent job in building up our forces, but what I'm going to do here is swap these two out so that the weaker force is not being surrounded, because I presume that they could have moved one more in there and hit that with 3 wars at once, so that we can hold that a little better. That is good. Yes, do ask away out there. Hey, Suter, how you doing? Alvaro is the dev for this game, and he'll answer any question about it as best he can, I'm sure. Right. They've, just keep moving that around a little bit, largely just as something to do. Still waiting for transports. Oh, well, we have deployment capabilities. Okay, some British units which come in down here. Valiant Squadron and Die Reuter. Are these Dutch, maybe? I don't know. And what, the US? Yes, okay. Deploy. There, and that is it for our deployment. Advances. Okay, we have 1 unassigned research center. Carrier operations, submarine, interceptors, naval air training. Amphibious operations, that sounds like a good one to pursue. War panel, come to here. Okay, we are not yet getting enough to look at Japan yet for intel. Create communications unit at 40 points. There we go. Building that up. There we go. Okay. Their health is getting a little better. Let's look at the U.S. economy. Oil, stockpiles of oil, good. Keep. Let's. Gotta click over here, make sure we're doing this right. Okay, let's cancel this. Australia. Let's start building up some more points. If we're going to do it, might as well do it. Yeah, there we go. We'll start building up some points in Australia. Create that trade. A little more than just oil. Yeah, and there is a note that if Japan doesn't leave enough forces up near Harbin up here, or close enough to Harbin, it can bring in the Soviet Union a little earlier. But I presume the AI knows that, so it's going to maintain whatever forces it needs to keep the Soviet Union out. But the human player needs to be aware of that. And so far, we're doing pretty good. Okay, building. We've been building air forces. We do have a lot for the Navy, U.S. We have a lot of naval elements coming. The big thing, of course, is transports. Some of these obviously are coming fairly late. Same with Japan. Okay, we've got about 8 minutes or so. About 6 minutes left here before the next stream should be coming up. Reinforcement upgrade. Well, looks like we're maintaining that full use. So let's go up on that. China, we're about maxing that out. Upkeep. Good. India. Want my units strong. Well, let's not go too overboard. Right, so that hopefully keeping these guys good and well functioning here in the face of the Japanese. They're keeping operational. Well, on the how long does it take an average player to grasp the need to grasp the basics? Well, for myself, and because I have a similar experience to Alvaro, playing Avalon Hill's Third Reich game wasn't my first war game like it I gather was with his, but it was one of my favorites back when I was a kid. I started with sort of HO and micro armor on sand tables, but so I have it's intuitive for me. A little bit of work on some of the UI and that kind of stuff, but because it's based out of a gaming history that I have, it's been very easy for me to come in and just play the game instinctually, especially for the European, just standard WarPlan game, because it is just so instinctual for me. Let's head these guys home. Not to the. I'll head them out here. I'm just deciding to do that. And yes, I see that Alvaro has made some videos, which is very good. Of course, you can also check out my videos on my YouTube channel. Right now, of course, they're just the WarPlan, the European game. But there's a link to my YouTube channel for anyone who hasn't already subscribed over there. You just open a new window. You don't need to go anywhere. There will be a follow-up stream. And of course, gamer_1745 for my Twitch channel. Just got to plug myself a little bit here. Right, okay, I think we are close enough ready. Yeah, we have enough time because we do have another stream coming up later or shortly. My understanding is going to be Panzer Corps 2. Thanks, Scooter. I do appreciate that. And you should follow or subscribe to Slithering and Matrixes. They both have YouTube channels, both the brandings. I mean, I sort of think of them as the same company, and they more or less are, but it's sort of branding. More war games with Matrix, more, you know, the classical war games with Matrix, more the popular stuff with Slithering. But you can follow those over on YouTube as well. Runs through all of its units and its thinking. All right, deliver aid to China. Okay, the UK and USA now get some transports to their availability, you know, their pool, and some landing ships, which will help us go on the offensive. But that's going to have to wait for future playthroughs. I think I will be continuing this sometime, I think maybe next week. So we will continue this playthrough from here, I think.